All right, so we skipped a week. Um, we only got through half the chapter. I was going to make the video, time ran out. So here we are, chapter 14. Some really exciting, good stuff here. So let's just jump into it. Verse 1. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the people of Israel to turn back and encamp in front of Pi Hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, in front of Baal Zephon. You shall encamp facing it by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the people of Israel, they are wandering in the land. The wilderness has shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them. And I will get glory over Pharaoh and all his hosts. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord." And they did so. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, the mind of Pharaoh and his servants was changed towards the people, and they said, "What is this we have done, that we have let Israel go from serving us?" Right? They're like, "What are we going to do?" The people that were serving us and building our buildings and building our bricks, like our whole entire infrastructure is gone. Um, and something we talked about is like, uh, God keeps speaking to Moses and Aaron and telling them exactly what is going to happen. Hey, listen, Pharaoh and his people are going to come after you. They're going to chase you. I'm going to take care of it. And they still are surprised when exactly what he said is going to happen happens. Um, and I think we, I think we suffer from it as well. It's like when we're uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable to think, "Oh no, they're coming after us." Well, what if what God said doesn't happen, bro? He already did all this other stuff. It's safe to cling to. He said what he's going to do, right? And so he made verse 6. So he made ready his chariots and took his army with him. He took 600 chosen chariots and all the other chariots of Egypt with officers over all of them. And so just in the chariots, he took 600. You figure two people per chariot. That's already 1,200 Egyptian soldiers. But then it says he took all the other chariots of Egypt with officers over all of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the people of Israel while the people of Israel were going out defiantly. The Egyptians pursued them, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them and camped at the sea by Pi-hahiroth in front of Baal Zephon, right? So, something we talked about was like, this wasn't the next day. Um, you got to remember, this is like 2 million, 3 million Jews leaving Egypt uh, with livestock, with all of Egypt's money, jewels, gold, silver. And so they're not moving that fast. And to move all those people that far, some time has passed. And that's what's kind of set into the Egyptians like, well, we were due to have this temple built by now, but our workers aren't here working. Um, so it creates some problems. And so some time has passed. And Egypt realized that they needed those people. Now they've caught up to them. Obviously, they're moving a lot faster. They got chariots and horses. They're moving fast. Verse 10. When Pharaoh drew near the people of Israel, lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them. They feared greatly, and the people of Israel cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us in bringing us out of Egypt? Is not this what we said to you in Egypt? Leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptians." So this is them going back to what they said before all the plagues. The first thing that Pharaoh said was, take their straw away. They can go get their own straw. They can make their own bricks. And they were like, "Leave us be, Moses. You're creating hard times." And Moses went to God and said, "Oh, why are you making me out to be the bad guy?" And so they're kind of saying it again, like, "Oh, now the Egyptians are going to slaughter us in the wilderness." And Moses is like, "Bruh, come on. Uh, for it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness," right? I'd rather, uh, there's this saying, right? I would rather die as a free man than live as a slave. And they're saying it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians, to live as a slave, than to die in the wilderness as free people. And that's something that, um, you know, when you see the economic changes and shifts and political changes and shifts and world changes and shifts, um, Some people just hop in line and say, well, I just comply because it's easier that way. And then I can continue living my life and be happy and comfortable. That goes a long way back to a podcast we did a long time ago about comfortability. Uh, but, right, God's sitting there like, are you kidding me? Uh, and then remember how all this started. God went to Moses and said, I hear your people crying, right? I hear them crying out. They want saved. They want rescue. I hear them, so I'm going to do it. And now they're upset and like, oh, it doesn't look the way I want it to. How many times have you or have we, uh, things don't look the way we want them to look? And so we kind of push back and we're like, well, God, you're not doing what I asked you to do. And he's like, I am. It just don't look the way that you think it should look, but I'm accomplishing the task. And Moses said to the people, it's 13, and Moses said to the people, fear not, stand firm, because now Moses knows for sure I'm not backing off this time. Stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent. You don't have to do nothing. You don't have to fight these people. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to do anything. Just get out of the way, and he's going to do the fighting. He's going to win, right? We need to cling to that. Are we clinging to that? It's not a he might, no, he will. And if we just get out of the way and sit back and go, okay, God, I'm taking my hands off my life. You got it. And then we don't try to take the reins back once things are going good, which is, if you read ahead, this is what happens. And you've seen it over and over again. 15. Uh, Yeah, we were talking about they were probably partying, right? You just got exited. You got all these gold, all this silver. You've got all of Egyptians' livestock. You got all this stuff, right? And you're leaving, and you're probably partying, having a good time. Yeah, we're out of here. It's like when you're in high school and you and your friends get to go to the beach for the first time without any parents, and it's like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. We're partying, we're having a good time, and then you get there, and they're like, well, who are you gonna pay for it? It's like, ah. And it's like here, right? They're partying, they're having a good time, they're celebrating, they're worshiping. Oh man, this is great. We're out of here. And as soon as things don't look the way they wanted to anymore, they're upset and they're like, send us back. Send us back. We'll serve you. We'll serve you. I'd rather live another 10 years and serve you than 10 years out here, 5 years out here, or for the next generation. I'd rather go back and live another 10 years I don't care about my grandkids, great grandkids, versus me living out here, maybe dying out here in the wilderness as a free man, but knowing that my grandkids and great grandkids are going to live free. Um, and so, something to think about. Verse 15. The Lord said to Moses, why do you cry to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Lift up your staff and stretch your hand over the sea and divide it, that the people of Israel may go through the sea on dry ground. And I will harden the heart of the Egyptians, so that they shall go in after them. And I will get glory over Pharaoh and all his hosts, his chariots, and his horsemen. So he's telling them, right? Go in, and they're going to follow you, but I'm going to get the glory. Don't know how, doesn't matter. He's going to get the glory. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten glory over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. 19. Then the angel of God, who was going before the host of Israel, moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud moved before them and stood behind them. So now this cloud is in between the Egyptians and the Israelites. 20. Coming between the host of Egypt and the host of Israel. Yeah, I should just read. And there was the cloud and the darkness, and it lit up the night without one coming near the other all night. So God's basically in between them. He's reached down and he's divided them, and they can't get to him. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord drove the sea back by a strong east wind all night and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. If you remember when the locust came, an east wind brought the locust in, a west wind blew it out. Now, an east wind is blowing the sea back, right? Just it's these small details that carry so much weight, right? They could just said, no, and God drove it back. But to witness and recognize, yeah, it was a wind blowing that did it, and it was an east wind. I just think it's important. I think those little things are important. And the more you read and the more you dive into this, the more that those things kind of make sense. 22, and the people of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, the waters being a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. The Egyptians pursued and went in after them in the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And in the morning watched the Lord in the pillar of fire and the cloud, looked down on the Egyptian forces and threw the Egyptian forces into a panic, clogging their chariot wheels so that they drove heavily. And the Egyptians said, "Let us flee from before Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, that the water may come back upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen." So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its normal course. It wasn't like it filled up, it just dropped and went right back to flowing and the rhythm of the ocean, how it was. And the Egyptians fled into it. The Lord threw the Egyptians into the. I'm sorry. And as the Egyptians fled into it, the Lord threw the Egyptians into the midst of the sea. The waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen of all the hosts of Egypt that had followed them into the sea. Not one of them remained. All of them are dead. But the people of Israel walked on dry ground through the sea, the waters being a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day from the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. They were washed up. Israel saw the great power that the Lord used against the Egyptians. So the people feared the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and in his servant Moses. And so something is that was brought up was, why do we do this? Why do we go through this cycle of like, oh, I'm worried, I'm crying out to God. Okay, God's doing something for me. Yeah, thanks God, I got it. Cool, great. And then I'm back into, I don't like this. Is uncomfortable. Oh, I'm uncomfortable. God, get me out of here. Okay, God's got me out. Oh, this is uncomfortable. And we're in this vicious cycle. Why don't we just keep focusing up? Why don't we just keep going up, right? Uh, if I just keep climbing and keep praising God nonstop, I'm just going to keep going up. I shouldn't get to the top and then go, okay, I got it. Because then what happens? I'm taking my own life back into my hands versus being led by the Holy Spirit. And then I start coming down. And then I come down. Oh, God, help me. All right, God, I got it. Okay, God, help me. Okay, God, I got it. Versus just, help me, God. Help me. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Help me. And I keep going up. Um, the storms that we focus on, the things in our life that we see, right? The ocean in front of us, the Egyptians behind us, the things that we see as threats. If we just focused on, this is going to bring glory to God. God, what are you going to do? You're going to do something cool here. I'm just going to focus on that. Instead of focusing on the mess. And we bring this up almost every week, I think, when we're sitting here talking. But Peter stepped out of that boat onto the water, eyes on Jesus, and was walking on water. When he took his eyes off Jesus and focused on the storm, the things going on around him, that was when he sank. If he just would have kept his eyes on Jesus, maybe he just never got back in the boat and kept walking. Is huge, right? When we face these times of trouble, it only gives way to God's glory, right? If we never had the trouble, we don't have room to see God's glory, right? And that's something that's like huge, that I need to work on. I think some of the other guys could agree is focusing on those things, not all the other nonsense, not the stuff going on around us. Focusing on God's glory, and then the bad things. Would we even see bad things, or would we just see God's glory over and over instead of focusing on the bad thing and then going, oh wait, because that's how it is, right? You're in this bad position and like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to get through this? Then God does something huge, and you're like, oh man, look back on it and like, oh man, why was I even complaining? Man, I knew God, He's got it, you know, versus just staying in that all the time, like, oh, God's got it. I ain't even gonna sweat it. This ain't that big of a deal because I got a way bigger God, right? Huge. Something else, I don't remember. I didn't write it down either. We took a map and we did some measurements. We set a minimum where they would have crossed a minimum of like 25 kilometers, I think. So it wasn't like they were just stepping over a stream, a canal, wadi, the small body of water. It, you're talking like 20, 25, let's say, 20 kilometers. 5K is 3 miles. 5 goes into 20, 4 times. 4 times is 12. So you're talking 12 miles, lugging all this stuff across this opening. Um, this is just incredible, absolutely incredible. And the other thing we were talking about was it wasn't like most of the Egyptians; it was all the Egyptians, and they saw that God's glory over all of them. It's powerful, right? It's huge. And then they believed in the Lord. Why does it take that for us to believe in God? Why does it take that for us to believe in the Lord? These are huge examples, right? God's doing little things in your life. Pay attention to Him, listen to Him, and it just concretes those things. Um, some prayer requests, I guess, that we had was um, health issues, physical pains, ailments. We had some people facing some physical complications, so we're asking for healing on those. And then we got a guy wondering, uh, kind of, um, he's not, I guess he is wondering. I don't know. I'm not sure the best way to describe it, but uh, more of looking for confirmation that he's supposed to go and speak with his family um, about Christ and spread the word and show them his new creation. Um, we all think it's what he should be doing, but it's not for us to decide. And so, if it is what the Lord wants, just praying that he gets that confirmation and he follows and listens to what the Spirit wants. And if it's not what the Lord wants, then it's very clear that the Lord does not want him to do that. So that was chapter 14. As far as I know, we're gathering next week and doing 15, and I'll try to get the video up faster. Mondays it works out well, but we'll try to get it up a little bit faster. Thank you for joining us. Please, if you got time, swing by the Forge on Teal Road in Lafayette, Indiana, and join us Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. We've been slacking on getting the workouts in because I've been teaching seminars every Saturday at different places around the state. But I promise, we will get back to doing those. And I just need to schedule my Saturdays better so we're not neglecting those things. So join us. Thank you for watching. Please send us any prayers or praises that you have or any thoughts, comments on the chapter that you have or came up with. Hope to see you on the mat. God bless you and be safe.